What happens when a child skips childhood altogether? Imagine the schoolyard, where games of tag, laughter, and scraped knees are supposed to define the day. Now imagine one kid off to the side, eyes too sharp, posture too careful, already worrying about things no 8-year-old should carry. Growing up too fast doesn't look like magic maturity. It looks like stolen innocence disguised as strength. It's the little girl who knows how to comfort her crying mom, or the boy who calculates bills in his head instead of multiplication tables. And while it might seem impressive, beneath the surface, it's a quiet rewiring of the mind, forcing a child to step into roles that bend them out of shape. Try this. The next time you notice a kid who seems so mature for their age, ask yourself, what did they have to give up to get there? And when a child becomes the parent, something in them rewires forever. This phenomenon, often called parentification, it takes hold when the child is expected to provide emotional or practical care that should belong to adults. Maybe they're making meals for younger siblings because mom works 3 jobs. Maybe they're the family's peacemaker, soothing an alcoholic father's temper. Or maybe they've become the therapist for their parent, listening to heartbreaks, frustrations, or financial woes. At first glance, it looks noble, even admirable, a child stepping up. But under the surface, this responsibility reshapes their developing brain. They learn that love is conditional on performance, that self-worth equals usefulness, that emotions are burdens best hidden. These kids grow into adults who feel guilty when they rest, who panic when someone needs them and they can't deliver, who confuse love with servitude. It's not all bleak. Of course, parentified children often develop resilience, empathy, and resourcefulness that others envy. But empathy without boundaries can drain you, and resourcefulness can turn into a refusal to ask for help. The tragedy isn't that they cared too much, it's that they were never taught they deserved to be cared for. Try this. If you recognize yourself in this, practice saying no once this week without an explanation, and notice that the world doesn't collapse. Missing out on play is more than missing fun, it's missing practice for life. When childhood skips the sandbox and jumps straight into survival mode, something important gets left behind. Play isn't just idle distraction. It's a laboratory where kids experiment with social rules, learn to share, test out imagination, and fail in safe spaces. Without it, kids don't just lose joy, they lose rehearsal for adulthood. A child who never played pretend may struggle with creativity later on. A child who never got messy and silly may grow up hyper-vigilant, unable to improvise. By skipping these micro-lessons, adulthood becomes a brittle thing, efficient, but fragile. It's like building a skyscraper without testing the flexibility of the steel. Try this. Give yourself permission to waste time on something playful this week. A doodle, a silly game, or even jumping into leaves and see how light it feels. Trauma ages you in ways birthdays never will. You can see it in the eyes of a 12-year-old who looks 40 when they've seen too much. Trauma can come in many forms: abuse, poverty, neglect, even the sudden death of a loved one. And while trauma forces a child to develop survival instincts early, like spotting danger, reading moods, and staying hyper-aware, it also steals the chance to build softer skills, like trust, openness, or joy. It's a paradox. The child becomes wise in some ways and stunted in others. Neurologically, trauma floods the brain with stress hormones, reshaping how emotions are processed. It can make the child hyper-responsible, but also deeply anxious. They grow up too fast? Yes, but only in ways that ensure survival, not wholeness. And when they become adults, they may mistake their hypervigilance for maturity, only to realize later it's exhaustion in disguise. They may carry their trauma into relationships, jobs, or even parenting, repeating cycles they swore to break. The harsh truth is this: growing up fast is not the same as growing strong. Real strength isn't born in desperation, it's born when safety gives you space to grow. Try this. If you carry old wounds, take one small action toward safety today, whether that's journaling, therapy, or even just admitting to yourself that what happened wasn't your fault. Perfection often hides the panic of a child who had no room to fail. Imagine being 10 years old and learning that mistakes aren't allowed, because mistakes mean chaos, anger, or punishment. Some kids grow up believing they must be flawless straight A's, spotless rooms, and perfect behavior because imperfection was dangerous. That child grows into the adult who double-checks emails 10 times, who works late into the night polishing projects, who apologizes for things that aren't even their fault. Perfectionism looks like control, but it's really fear dressed in a nice suit. It's the fear of rejection, abandonment, or conflict. And the irony. The more they perfect, the less free they feel. Try this. Let yourself deliberately make a small, harmless mistake today, like leaving a typo in a note to yourself, and notice that life keeps moving forward anyway. Love feels different when you've been forced to earn it since childhood. For a child who grew up too fast, relationships become a strange terrain. They learned early that love meant doing something: cooking, calming, fixing, sacrificing. So as adults, they may overfunction in love, taking care of partners, absorbing problems, bending themselves into knots to avoid rejection. On the outside, they look dependable, maybe even saint-like, but inside, they feel a gnawing emptiness because the love they crave isn't being freely given. It's being traded. Boundaries blur. Intimacy feels unsafe. Or worse, undeserved. They might sabotage healthy relationships because calm feels suspicious, or cling to unhealthy ones because chaos feels familiar. Healing this takes courage. It means learning to sit still without proving, to trust that love can exist without performance. It's often messy work in therapy or through self-awareness, but it's possible. The irony is that the very qualities that made them survive resilience, caretaking, hyper-responsibility can, when untangled, make them extraordinary partners and friends. Try this. The next time you feel compelled to fix someone's mood, pause and remind yourself it's not your job to manage their feelings. Can lost childhood ever be reclaimed? The short answer: not fully. You can't rewind time. You can't redo the playground years. You can't unshoulder the burdens you carried. But healing isn't about going back. It's about moving forward differently. Adults who grew up too fast often find themselves in therapy, in self-help books, or simply in quiet reflection, learning to reparent themselves. That means giving yourself what you never had permission to rest. Space to feel. The chance to play. It means catching yourself when you dismiss your own needs as unimportant. It means creating a safe inner home where you don't have to prove anything. And while it's true that lost years can't return, stolen joy can be reclaimed in fragments, day by day, through conscious choice. Try this. Do something childlike this week without guilt, whether that's drawing with crayons, watching cartoons, or swinging at a park, and notice how much your body remembers what it feels like to be free. So, when we talk about the psychology of a child who grew up too fast, we're really talking about the adults they became, the hidden costs, the quiet strengths, and the lifelong project of healing. If this resonated with you, consider following along for more explorations into psychology, resilience, and the human story. Because sometimes, the best way to move forward is to finally give yourself permission to be human, not perfect.